everyone, I hope you all had a fantastic holiday and took some time to get some well-deserved rest and relaxation. Today's December 26th, if I'm getting this video out at the right time, which means that it's the 1-year anniversary of the first ever episode of The Marvelous Adventures of Danny DeCamp. Honestly, this has been such a wacky ride, and I'm so honored that people are at all interested in my silly cartoon about a dead sewer rat and his froggy pal going on an adventure to solve a murder. The amount of love that you guys have shown me over this past year is ridiculous, and you guys give me all the motivation in the world to really push through and see this thing to the end. That being said, those that know me know that I've gone on record for my distaste for the first episode. Why do I hate it so much? Well, the first things first, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. Even after about 2 months of research to plan Case 1, I had no idea how to write an actual script, so the dialogue in the episode is pretty cringe. This is also before I really brought on my good friend Ghost, the voice of Danny, as a co-writer. If I remember correctly, I think all he really did for the first episode was fix grammar, and even then I said not to change too much because I had already storyboarded the entire episode, so I didn't want to change too much. Even so, we still have lines like this!
Frank! You gotta come quick! Detective Linyoster used the calling alarm and told me to get you to come over quick!
That are just awful and make me cringe. The entire first episode is really just one giant exposition dump, which I guess is kind of important since I'm introducing you to my wacky world and a bunch of new characters. I just wish it was all a little more cohesive and better put together. Well, lastly, there's the animation. I'll cut myself a bit of slack here, because this was my first time managing something this massive before, and it was my first time really jumping back into animation after a really long time, so I'm honestly just proud of myself for finishing the dang thing. But for those who don't know, I started this show for 2 reasons. The first being I love the mystery genre, and I think it's kind of underrated, so I thought I'd make my own, just for fun. The second being I wanted to learn how to animate, and I can gladly say I've learned a lot over this past year. For example, for the love of God, do not sketch out every mouth you're gonna make. Just draw them. It's not that hard, Happy. I don't know why you had to do that for the entire first episode. Maybe you could have gotten it out a little faster if you didn't do that. Anyway, that brings us to the purpose of this video, my Marvelous Episode 1 recap to get to know all the important information about Episode 1 so you never have to watch it again and can just skip to the far better Episode 2. Enough rambling, let's begin. So episode 1 starts off as we are introduced to our main character Frank Herod, working on something. Gracie barges in and asks Frank if she can help her with some last-minute studying for her forensics test. Frank agrees, but asks why Gracie would even want to be a forensics officer, as she already gets to be a cool police officer. Gracie responds that she just loves all the science mumbo-jumbo that comes with the forensics team, and would love to be a part of it. Cue the old intro. Gross. Frank is helping Gracie study for her forensics test when the curtain that breaks the forensics lab from the rest of the Naybrook's police department, the place in which the story takes place, flutters for a moment. They both find this odd as Frank goes to see who's there. It's Randy Fallon! Frank's childhood friend who is there to visit him at work. Frank greets his friend and introduces him to Gracie, then proceeds to show him around the lab, explaining what exactly it is they do there. Frank also mentions his boss, Jane Fincher, to which Gracie chimes in, giving us a little more details about the amazing chief forensics investigator.
Oh, she's no big deal. She's only the smartest, most intelligent scientist the sewer system has ever seen. She's won countless awards for her amazing work and has helped solve so many cases that were thought to be unsolvable. She's amazing!
Frank then leads Randy to where they keep the various tools that they use when examining dead bodies.
Dead bodies? Yep. Ugh.
Randy seems interested and picks up the scalpel, you know, like an idiot, to which Frank scolds him to put it down. Then, the very woman who they were talking to earlier walks in, a squirrel by the name of Jane Fincher, who appears worried and upset. Gracie and Frank come to her aid and ask her what's wrong. Jane explains that she just got into a bit of an argument with one of the head detectives, Lynn Yoster.
Oh, I'm fine. Detective Linyoster and I just got into a bit of a disagreement, but it's okay.
Who happens to be Gracie's partner. Jane then asks if Gracie is there for another forensics test, and the two of them head into her office to take it. Frank and Randy then take their chance to leave and go get some lunch.
Come on, you love a rat.
I am not a rat.
Oh look, it's my least favorite scene. Anyway, Frank and Randy are busy catching up when Frank states that he's finally thought of a way that he could become a detective. Randy is about to ask what he means by that when a snake by the name of Jane Lewis comes popping out of the police department. Frank then takes the opportunity to ask James, who is an elite officer, about his idea of becoming a detective, to which James sadly shuts him down in fear that Frank will only be squished if he were allowed to do that kind of work. James tries to cheer him up with some candy, but this doesn't really work.
I must be going, but don't let our conversation get you down.
James then takes his leave. Randy is concerned for his friend until Gracie comes crawling out of the forensics lab again, crying about how she failed the test again.
Failed again. This makes it the 76th attempt.
Randy tries to cheer her up, which helps Gracie as she is now pumped once again. Frank, however, is still feeling the sting of James's rejection, as this is nothing new to him. Randy realizes that he has a job interview and leaves the two by themselves, soon followed by Frank and Gracie as they walk home. On their way home, Frank tries to stir up a conversation on how Gracie's test went, but Gracie is clearly in no mood to talk about it. While they were walking, they see a poster for what is known as the ABS, an organization meant to help those in the sewer find a way to get to the surface world. Gracie explains that this by itself isn't a bad thing, but rumors have started going around that there may be something sinister going on deep within the higher ranks of the ABS, which is why the director of the NBPD has sent James Lewis and a few other officers to investigate it.
Oh, so that's why the director handpicked people for this project.
Just as they finish their conversation, the two arrive at Frank's home, which, yes, is a can, because funny. The next day, Gracie comes barging in on Frank's not door and asks him for his help, saying that Detective Lanyoster used the calling alarm, which is a device used by both citizens and police to notify that help is needed. The two of them rush over to find Randy pinned to the ground by the very same Detective Lanyoster, with a blue bunny laying close by. Gracie and Frank ask what is happening, to which Lynn responds that Randy is under suspicion for murder. Frank then asks who has been murdered, which is later revealed to be, dun 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 dun, Jane Fincher, one of Frank's closest friends and boss. And there you have it. That's all you need to know about the first episode of TMA ODDC. Well, I guess there's that one scene, but that's not important. Nothing to see here. Okay, anyway. Like I said, this episode has a lot of problems, both animation-wise and story-based. And if I had the time or energy, I would reboot it, but I would much rather use this as a stepping stone of learning and get on to more fun and exciting episodes, so that I can tell you all who the freaking killer is, because good God, I can't keep a secret, and I've been holding this in for a year, and I cannot wait to tell you who it all is. Excuse me. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching and your continued support of my wacky little show. Now off I go to work on episode 4. See ya!